spent a day on a tour bus being told where to go, when to stop, and how long I had at each location. It was one of the most profound travel experiences I've had. Everything I say about Soulseeing says you need freedom. Solo travel, open schedules, the ability to stay as long as you want, to wander without agenda. But this day threw all of that out the window. A printed itinerary, a seat number, a guide reminding us we had exactly 45 minutes at each stop, zero control over pace or order. This should have been pure sightseeing, efficient, curated, timed. And yet somewhere between Hobbiton Shire and the darkness of Waitomo Glowworm Caves, Soulseeing found a way in anyway. Turns out, you don't need total freedom to be transformed by a place. Sometimes you just need to soften your grip. The day began with a pickup time I didn't choose, at a location I had to be at by a certain time or miss the bus entirely. We were headed to two of New Zealand's North Island's most iconic stops, Hobbiton movie set and Waitomo Glowworm Caves. More than 30 people on this bus, from all over the world. Different ages, different languages, different reasons for being here, all of us giving up control for the day. And here's what I realized within the first 30 minutes. There's something quietly disarming about surrendering control for the day. The bus moves regardless of your readiness. The landscape passes whether you're watching or not. You're carried physically and mentally through terrain you didn't choose but must now respond to. At first it feels passive. You're just a passenger. Someone else is driving. Someone else decided the route, the timing, the stops. But then slowly, it feels permissive. Without needing to decide where to go next, your attention has room to wander. You notice land instead of logistics, texture instead of timelines. You're not navigating. You're not problem solving. You're just moving. Soulseeing doesn't always require freedom. Sometimes it emerges from release. The first stop was Hobbiton Movie Farm. I'll be honest, I expected this to feel commercial. A movie set preserved for tourists. Instagram bait. Something you tick off the list and move on from. But something curious happens when you actually arrive in the Shire. The set is meticulous. 44 hobbit holes burrowed into hillsides, each with round doors painted in different colors. Real vegetables and flowers in the gardens were placed regularly to maintain the illusion. Smoke piped into chimneys every morning. Even the tree above Bag End was constructed leaf by leaf. Our guide narrated details I would have missed. How Peter Jackson spotted this land during an aerial scout in 1998. How the original set from Lord of the Rings was temporary, but they rebuilt everything with permanent materials for the Hobbit trilogy. How the mill house actually operates. How the stone bridge was built by local craftsmen. Sightseeing was happening. Photos, facts, movement from point to point. But then we reached Bag End. The group lingered here. The guide gave us time. And in that time, something shifted. The scale is intentionally small. The paths curve gently. Nothing asserts dominance. Everything nestles into the earth rather than rising above it. And without realizing it, you slow down. Not because you're told to, but because the place itself refuses urgency. The fantasy works not because it's spectacular, but because it's domestic, rooted, ordinary in the best sense. We split into groups to tour the inside of one fully themed hobbit hole. Fireplaces, cooking implements, everything scaled down and lived in rather than performative. The tour ended at the Green Dragon Inn. Complimentary beverage, ale, stout, cider, or ginger beer. 20 minutes to explore the atmospheric pub. Most people immediately pulled out phones. Some settled into corners with their drinks, but a few of us just sat. And that's when I realized Soulseeing arrived here disguised as nostalgia, not just for a movie, but for a way of living that values simplicity over grandeur, for a pace that fits your body instead of overwhelming it. Hobbiton didn't teach through drama, it taught by refusing to rush you. Back on the bus, the mood shifted. People scrolled, dozed, stared out windows without comment. The landscape changed as we drove towards Waitomo. More forested, greener, the farms gave way to bush, the hills became more pronounced, and that's where the day deepened. The bus became a moving meditation because nothing was being asked of you. You couldn't control the pace, you couldn't choose the route, you could only watch landscape unfold. Soulseeing often happens between destinations, in the gaps, in the transitions, in the moments when you stop trying to make something happen and just let yourself be carried. The Waitomo Glowworm Caves have been a tourist attraction for over 130 years, but no amount of preparation can prepare you for what it feels like to sit in complete darkness surrounded by thousands of tiny lights. You arrive expecting a cave. You've seen caves before. You know what to expect. Limestone formations, maybe some interest in geology, a guided tour with facts and figures. But then your guide asks everyone to be completely silent. You step into a boat, and you're pulled slowly into absolute darkness. And above you, surrounding you, are thousands upon thousands of glowworms creating a galaxy underground. It's not about information anymore. It's not about understanding. It's about surrender. About sitting in darkness and letting something impossible become real. I can't show you what this looks like, but I can tell you what it feels like. Complete darkness, complete silence except for the sound of water dripping somewhere distant. And above you, thousands of tiny blue-green lights. They look like stars, like a galaxy condensed and inverted, like someone took the night sky and brought it underground and asked you to float beneath it in perfect stillness. The boat ride lasts maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes of silence, 10 minutes of darkness, 10 minutes of sitting absolutely still while thousands of living lights surround you. And something happens in that darkness. You stop performing. You can't take photos, so you stop thinking about documentation. You can't talk, so you stop narrating the experience to yourself or others. You can't see the people around you, so you stop comparing your reaction to theirs. You just are. Present to darkness, present to light within darkness, present to silence and stillness and the strange fact of your own aliveness floating beneath an underground galaxy of hungry larvae, turning survival into something that looks like stars. When we emerged back into the lit cave, no one spoke immediately. We climbed out of the boats carefully. A few people wiped their eyes, whether from emotion or just the brightness after darkness, I couldn't tell. Waitomo teaches through subtraction, not addition. It takes away light. It takes away sound. It takes away control and choice and the ability to document or perform. And in that absence, presence becomes unavoidable. You can't be anywhere but exactly where you are when you're sitting in absolute darkness surrounded by thousands of tiny lights that exist whether you're there or not. At the end of the day, everyone returned to the bus carrying different things. Some carried photos from Hobbiton. Some carried facts about limestone formation and glowworm biology. Some carried fatigue. And some carried something harder to name, a subtle internal quiet that didn't exist that morning. That's the strange truth about Soulseeing. It doesn't care how you got there. It only cares whether you're present when it arrived. This tour offered both sightseeing and Soulseeing. The structure gave access, the timing created containers, the guide provided information, but the land and the darkness did the rest. It's easy to believe that Soulseeing requires total freedom. Solo travel, open schedules, endless time. But this day proved otherwise. Even on a bus, even on a timeline, even inside a curated experience where every stop was scheduled and every minute accounted for. If you're willing to soften your grip, if you're willing to let moments land instead of extracting from them, if you're willing to receive what shows up instead of demanding what you expected, then depth finds you anyway. Hobbiton taught me that places can slow you down just by refusing to rush you. Smallness can be more transformative than spectacle. Waitomo taught me that darkness creates space for presence that light sometimes obscures. That surrender isn't weakness. It's the only way to experience certain kinds of beauty. New Zealand doesn't demand reverence. It rewards attention. And sometimes, even when sightseeing is driving, Soulseeing is quietly taking notes in the backseat. If you want more videos about finding depth in unexpected places, even on tour buses, even on schedules, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell so you don't miss the walks. Because Soulseeing isn't about perfect conditions. It's about showing up fully to whatever conditions you're actually in. Let's practice that together.